I was scrolling through Instagram one day, and I saw this video from a young, faithful man named Mike Malagies, I think is his name, and he was sharing a story from the Old Testament about Jehoshaphat. Now, we don't talk about Jehoshaphat much. We're not really so focused on Second Chronicles. It's kind of like an interesting story to pull from the Old Testament, but he was talking about this story, and I've got to be very careful. I'm going to hold this so I don't mess up as I explain this. So he was saying the story about Jehoshaphat, who was king of Judah, and he said that the king of Judah realized that he was cooked. So, in case you are like me and you are over the age of 40 and you're like, okay, goodness gracious, what does this mean? So if you say I'm cooked, that means I'm doomed. Here's the confusing part, by the way. If you say I cooked, that means I did awesome. So, it is what it is. But so he says that Jehoshaphat realized that he was cooked, the first one, meaning he was doomed. And then Jehoshaphat turned to God and said, God, our eyes are on you, to which God said, do not be afraid. The battle is not yours, but God. And then Mike, this little young theologian, he's not little, but young theologian, said that he translated this as God saying, I feel so silly. God saying, let me cook, I got you, bro. Okay, so apparently, let me cook, again, if you are over the age of 40, and I literally have to check with my children about this, if you say, let me cook, this is Walter's definition, by the way, he says, let me do something well and efficiently. By the way, I love that my 12-year-old came up with that definition right away, like that. Let me do something well and efficiently. I love that brain there. And so God is saying, let me do this, let me handle this for you well and efficiently, in other words, let me cook. I got you, bro. And I just love this. I watched this video, and I'm sure he's got even more like this. But it made me laugh, and yet even though it made me laugh, I loved it. Because he's speaking, he's not talking to those of us over 40. He's talking to young people. He's talking to our teenagers. He's talking to our kids, and he's using language that they understand. And do you want to know what that means? Using language that they understand, if we're being honest, makes him a saint in that way. Because a saint is a person who makes it easier for others to believe in God. And that's exactly what he did. He used a language so that young people could understand things more easily, so that they can understand that when you feel like I'm cooked, I'm done. I'm doomed. When you feel like I'm cooked, I am doomed, you can turn to God in prayer. God can say